podcast, shooting the shit about the Suns since 2019.
Hey, thanks for pressing play, and welcome to another edition of the Suns Jam Session podcast. My name is John Voight, managing editor, Bright Side of the Sun, and I'm joined, as per usual, by my podcasting partner, my partner in flirt and crime, Matthew Lissy. Matthew the Policy.
Yeah, good fart gets me laughing every time.
It never fails. I don't know what it is.
Nah, always. Real farts, though, that's where it's at. It still says Matt Lissy on there.
I know. It says Matt Lissy. You know, you can change that.
I can't.
But that's on you. Well, I'd like to welcome everybody to the show. You know, again, we go live every Wednesdays, and our game plan tonight was to talk about the Summer League. The Phoenix Suns finished their fourth game in Summer League. They have one left. It's going to be Saturday. I think they should be announcing soon who that team will be, because the Summer Suns are not going to any kind of championship bracket. They're 1-3, but we'll save all of our observations about the Suns Summer League for next week's show. This week, that's right, Jamsters, it finally happened. We're talking about the Brad Beal buyout. Bradley Beal. Oh, you know what? I should play his drop before I really go on my diatribe here. I just hit an old thing there.
Playoff zone, man. It's time. It's time. It's time to start playing defense. It's time to execute it and take care of the ball, offense. It's time, man. We want to win the ring. It's time. It's time.
And she said, you're not the only one, but you're the best, Bradley. Bo.
It is time, Matthew.
Yeah.
It is time. Bradley Beal, a great person, a good player, and an absolutely catastrophic contract. And now he's the most expensive financial blunder in Phoenix Suns history. He was officially bought out today for $96.9 million, which we had all kind of predicted. And I just want you to let that number sit in for a minute. Like, soak that in. $96.9 million. So per Zillow, the average price of a home in Phoenix is $418,453. With $96.9 million, Bradley Beal could buy 231 homes in Phoenix, Arizona, or 193 brand new 2025 Ford F-150 Lariats to park in each of those garages. And if you needed to paint those homes, Rhino Exterior Painting charges roughly about $1.55 per square foot. You can give them a call, 602-488-4895 for your free estimate today. And with that buyout money, you could paint 30,218,750 square feet of walls. All that to pay someone to not play basketball for you. Is it the right move? What do you think? So when you saw the notification come up, you know it's coming, but now it's in the rear view. They're going to buy it out. They're going to stretch it. It's going to be $19.4 million annually through 2030 for a player who's no longer going to be on the roster. That's a half decade of dead cap. What do you think about Bradley Beal? Was this the right move, Matthew?
Yeah, so you say he's a good guy, and you just brought up the fact that he can buy 200 plus homes here in Phoenix for homeless people, single moms, and he doesn't do it. God's going to be very disappointed when he dies and goes to heaven. Using that money for what? Just himself? That's so selfish. But no, I'm kidding. I don't really care what he does with his money. And the fact that we keep saying, like, he's a good guy, it's fine. It's just, I think we just wanted him out of here, of Phoenix. Like, no matter who he is as a person, a ball player, he was efficient at times, but it was never on the floor. So, yeah, when I saw the notification, I was excited. It was over with. And I think, last pod, I just was like, I feel like there's other things in line to happen after the fact. And maybe Chris Paul's a little bit involved where he's going to go after Bradley Beal makes his decision. Maybe that's the thing, because Chris Paul has yet to actually find a destination, but it's looking like he's going to go to the Clippers. So Beal to go to the Clippers after leaving the Suns to kind of join Kawhi and James Harden, I like to say good luck, because I'm just done with all those names. I'm done with James Harden's, the Bradley Beals, the LeBron James, the Kevin Durant's. I'm all about the new basketball era with the young rising stars. So I'm very excited this is done with. I'm glad he got his money. I'm glad he took a pay cut to get out of here. That way we can stretch him. And I'm just glad to move on.
I'm with you there. It's definitely, when you look at today and you look at this offseason, it truly was an offseason of resetting, of saying, you know what? We fucked up. Like what's that meme from The Hangover? What's his face? Bradley Cooper. They're out in the desert. Yeah. He's on the phone. He's like, we fucked up. That's what the Suns did. Matt Ishbia came in here spending, and he fucked up. He fucked up by getting Kevin Durant here and sacrificing youth when youth was about to become the new currency. It wasn't at the time when the trade happened, but the new CBA was right around the corner. No one really understood the repercussions of it yet. And he had an old school mindset of, hey, if I have a big three and quality ancillary pieces around him, no problem. I'm going to win this. And what we've learned is youth is what matters. And then the next, 4 months later, he traded for Bradley Beal in one of the worst histories. Like I said, it's the most expensive, catastrophic financial blunder in Phoenix Suns history. There's just no two ways about it. Some would say it's unprecedented, but because of the fact that Damian Lillard was bought out for more money and then stretched and waived and stretched in Milwaukee just a couple weeks ago, it's not unprecedented, and nobody came looking at it from that angle. When Damian Lillard happened, everyone's like, we've never seen this before. Now, potentially, this could become the norm. But to your point, Matthew, this is a changing point for the Suns. It is a changing point for the organization. We were the second oldest team in the NBA when Beal and Durant were on this roster last year. We're now the seventh youngest team in the NBA. In one fell swoop, in one fell off season, we've gotten younger, we've gotten more athletic, and we've put ourselves in a position where a lot of people wanted us to be, yourself included. Let's start developing, right? Let's start to blow it up. Now, granted, you were more in the let's completely blow it up, right? Let's get rid of Booker as well. Let's trade everything, completely blow this thing up. But how do you feel knowing that when we last watched the real Phoenix Suns, not the Summer Suns, play basketball, which was 3 months ago, from where we were then to where we are now, the big three is completely dismantled. Devin Booker's here to stay. Bradley Beal's going to be a Clipper. Kevin Durant's going to be a Rocket. We got younger. We got more athletic. And we got out of second apron cap hell, although we will have dead cap for the next 5 years.
Yeah, no, I'm actually excited about the future of the organization. I think that the Suns made the right decision today, obviously, working with Bradley Beal to make it so that, he doesn't stay on the team and that we send him home or something stupid like that. We didn't want that to happen here in Phoenix, where it just kind of it would become unnecessarily uncomfortable with him on the bench or actually playing with Devin Booker this season. So they worked together, got it done. And the fact that, both him and Kevin Durant are both on teams that might end up in the Western Conference Finals, who knows? That's fine with me.
Wouldn't that be funny?
Yeah, and I saw the tweet too you put out. That might be a thing. And if it is, then we all know it is Devin Booker, and it's not going to work with this guy. It has to be, right? Those two teams can't go to the finals with those guys. And then we're just like, how come it didn't work out for us? It's like obviously the supporting cast is a little bit better over in Houston. The Clippers themselves are still relying on those older veterans to stay healthy and to make in the playoffs and actually perform in the playoffs. But like the drop he played earlier with Bradley Beal saying, I'm ready, let's play defense. I'm glad that's done. I'm just glad that this team's going to give an effort during the regular season, and they're going to give the fans a show. And I think that's all we can ask for, because with those two guys out, I don't know if it's true or not, if they cared or not. Bradley Beal just didn't care enough, like John Gambadoro did say on a tweet, just saying he didn't really have the urge to play as hard here in Phoenix. If that was a thing, obviously it was kind of noticeable at times, but we don't have to worry about that anymore because we have guys on this team that are going to put forth the effort. So good luck to him with those teams, obviously, but I think we have to stop putting out those tweets too with him and Kawhi and James Harden. Who's going to stop these guys?
Yeah.
I'm done believing, like I said before, I'm done believing in those. I'm not talking about in any preseason pods that we have to preview the season. I'm not talking about that team. I'm done with the Clippers. I am done. They're good. They're great, but they will never win a championship. Sorry. I'm just done.
That's how I feel about the Rockets. One thing that we're definitely going to see is a team that plays with some give a shit. And I think that's what a lot of fans have been clamoring for. But the one thing that we will be void of, and it's going to give a shit's great, but the fact that we are not going to be a talented team next year. There's this balance and this realization that needs to occur that you understand this team's going to try, but they're not going to be able to win because they're just not good enough. And can we accept that? And we've been down this road before, and this is the cautionary tale that I've said, because when you talk about the Bradley Beal situation, the Kevin Durant situation, the big three situation, I've straddled both sides of the fence. I've seen both sides of how this works and how it couldn't work. And ultimately, that's why when I said, how do I approach this offseason? I said that you do this move with Bradley Beal. I wanted to keep Kevin Durant, knowing that we would still have cap flexibility because the buyout of Durant of Beal and then stretching him would do so because it saves you $34 million this year. But I still wanted talent on this team. And we'll talk about it more next week as we wrap up the Summer Suns and the young talent that we see out there, the young athleticism, the young grit, the young defense, the young give a shit. There's some talent deficiencies there that's going to take time to develop, and that's okay, but that's what it takes is time. As long as everybody's okay with us sucking in the name of grit and defense and give a shit, then hopefully everyone will be okay. We know not everybody will. I think for you and me, as two guys who covered the team, credentialed members of the Phoenix Suns, I think it's going to be fun to go through this growing experience. I honestly do. And I think it's engaging. I think both you and I, after 2 seasons of covering this team and doing podcasts and writing, it became monotonous the way that this team played. It rubbed off on us as media members because of the way that we had to cover them. It's like, shit, man, like all the talent's there, but they don't have no give a shit. Now we're going to have a bunch of give a shit and no talent. So it's like this weird dichotomy and change, right?
Yeah. And the talent thing too, like it kind of scares me a little bit to kind of go too against it. Like if we're saying that they don't have as much talent as last year, maybe just because, of course, we had Kevin Durant. Like I said, Bradley Beal was efficient, but the guys on our team, I feel like their willpower to win and prove themselves might outweigh the actual talent part. So that's what makes it fun for me to cover next year and to watch them game after game after game, because we already know like these guys, like I said, have to prove something. Where Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and even like over in Los Angeles with James Harden and Kawhi Leonard, those guys are hard-headed. They know who they are. They're not going to change for anybody. We have young guys on here that are willing to develop and change with the system, whatever the Suns roll out this year. That's what we didn't have the last 2 years. We had superstars that just knew, like, this is how I play. I'm not going to adjust to anything that the coach says. Whatever we're going to throw out there, like, I'm just going to play my ball, and I might whine a little bit about it. I might bitch a little bit about it. That's what we always got. So that's why I'm excited to just see, like, how these guys develop in a system that I feel like won't have any idea what it's going to look like till about 10 or 12 games in, maybe, if that, because obviously Jordan Knott is a guy that's going to be kind of like off the wall, out of the box a little bit. So that's what's exciting, because you have a lot of really rascals on this team, right?
Just there's a lot of intriguing storylines going into next year, and it's going to be, in that capacity, it's going to be fun to watch, because the storylines last year were ones inflated with expectations, mired by egos, and ultimately fell flat game after game. One thing I will say with the Bradley Beal extension or buyout extension, the exact opposite of an extension, buying him out, waiving, stretching, is, and maybe this is because I was super busy at work today, so I wasn't on social media a lot to see kind of the reaction, but the reaction for the most part that I saw was one of somewhat of acceptance. The majority of people thinking that although it's not a good move, it's the right move to kind of do right now, considering where this team is. And I think a big part of that is because we've known this has been coming for 2 weeks now. Per sources, this was actually done on the second day of July, and it's just been a matter of Bradley Beal finding that team that he wanted to play for and could give him money close to the amount that he wanted to. Now, for those who aren't aware of the details, again, it's about 13.8 million, I think is what the number came down to, 13.9 million that he gave up. And so the Suns could waive and stretch him after buying him out. And he's going to get a 2-year, $11 million contract with the Clippers. And, the question is, well, why? Why not more? The reason why is because nobody has any money. Okay. Nobody can say, hey, man, come play for us for $30 million a year for 2 years, which would be a $15 million contract. The only teams that could do that have their mid-level exception left, and he doesn't want to go there. Like the Wizards could do that. The Wizards could be like, hey, we'll give you $14.3 million a year. It's our mid-level exception. Come play with us. And he'd be like, nope. So he's going to the Clippers. It's a player option for next year. And so it's funny because Bradley Beal literally, in a span of 24 hours, went from having the worst fucking contract in the NBA to being one of the most desired assets in next year's free agency, right? To being on one of the best deals, because he's only going to make like $5.5 million for the Clippers this year. And that's because of the way that the NBA is structured, the fact that there's only 2 teams in the NBA that have cap space. It's I think it's the Hornets, and I know it's the Nets. Those are the only two teams who could actually offer him a substantial amount. And because no other teams are out there who can, there's no bidding more for him. So with all of that, he's leaving, and the Suns take that money, they stretch it, and what they do, as I mentioned earlier, is they save $35 million in overall cap space. And I'm gonna let you talk. And my wife's like doing some shit, so I gotta close the door. So talk. Okay.
Yeah, the way they actually stretch it out too is it's on you. Hold on, let's switch it back to me. Okay, yeah. So the way that they actually stretch it out too, it was nice that he can find a location where he can make up his money, because that's the one thing that Bradley Beal's been really stingy on. I think every NBA player should be, is how they want to keep their money, make sure that they're in the right place to win. At the end of his career, if you guys remember, he was actually in the playoffs with the Washington Wizards back in the day, but he still wants a destination where he can actually win, has a chance to actually win a chip. And the fact that he's still making his money close, there's $1 million short about, he's a very happy man right now, I feel like.
I agree. He's absolutely happy with his destination. He got $96 million all at once. Can't be too upset with that. But again, you look at it from a Suns perspective, and the reason why you do it. Some people were saying that you hold on to him for the next 2 years, you send him home, right? Or you keep him around. You go, you know what? We'll make it work over the next 2 years. Maybe next year he becomes a little bit more tradable, what have you. It's clear that this was, for you and me to sit behind keyboards and debate whether or not, or talk about what's best for the organization. We see the contracts, we see the cap hits, but for him, there's a fractured relationship, and he wasn't going to come back. John Gambadoro's been saying that shit since April. 0% chance he's going to be here. Where there's a will, there's a way. It happens today. And the reason is because if you look at the cap sheet pre-buyout, the Suns, with they still have one open roster spot. Prior to the buyout of Bradley Beal, $219.5 million in total salary. They're $23 million over the first apron. They're $13.2 million over the second apron. And by doing this move, it provides some reprieve. Now they have $185.3 million in total salary. They are 10.7 under the first apron. They're 21 million under the second apron. They have flexibility. And that's what everyone's kind of waiting for. What's the next move? What the Suns are going to do next? And I do want to talk about that momentarily, but what I want to say is the reason you do that is there's a couple different reasons. One, you take a look at it and you say, in this scenario, he's accounting for 12.5% of our cap. 5 years from now, his dead money is only going to count for 8.8%. Not ideal. Yeah. Not ideal. But again, it does allow you some flexibility down the line. Yeah. And the other reason, in my opinion, that you do this, and the most important reason, is because of doing this, you can now aggregate salaries again. You can use your mid-level exception. You can do sign-in trades. You can take back more money in trades, and you can send cash out in deals. All these things, both the first and second apron negated us from doing. Now, granted, the Suns are right around $10 million underneath the first apron, as I said, right? So if they want to fill out their last two roster spots with two veteran minimum guys and not be in the first apron at all, they can do that. But they can use their mid-level exception. They can go out there and they can pay somebody a little bit more money, knowing that when you do that, that you now have the rights to trade that person. You can trade Royce O'Neal and Nick Richards now. You have options other than you and me every fucking offseason sitting here and be like, all right, man, let's take a look at guys who are available on vet minimums, because that's all we can add. Because the moment you go over the cap, you can't add anybody unless, or you go to the second apron, you can't add anyone unless it's on a veteran minimum deal. So that's the primary reason why the Suns want to do this. They want to break this chain of shit that they've got themselves into and start resetting for the future, both financially and culturally. And Bradley Beal, financially and culturally, wasn't fitting with this team.
He wasn't. And plus, a lot of us know that Booker is happy here, supposedly. But there's also a reason of why maybe he would want out, right? Eventually, within the next couple seasons. Like, you can say you're happy now, but within the next few years, if this doesn't work out, bingo, and we are tied to that, we're in the second apron, we can't make any adjustments, and maybe we're just good enough to be a play-in team. It's like maybe a few adjustments here or there, a few added players or a few trades here or there, it might make us a contender within the next couple of years with Devin Booker. Booker doesn't want to continue to lose, no matter how much he wants to maybe rebuild with this team and just see like the efforts of the front office putting forth with, Jalen Green.
Hell yeah.
I feel like we did that once a pod. Gerald Green, Jalen Green, and Dylan Brooks, guys that want to win. Like that's enticing to him. But I feel like when it comes down to it on paper, it doesn't look too bad. But on the court, it's going to look really messy. So how long does he want to be here while that's happening? Like you said, the aggregation of like the salaries together that you can trade for a better player, not maybe a superstar, but maybe a guy that can be 1B next to Devin Booker for the time being if Jalen Green doesn't work out. That's nice to have that option because you just never know how it's going to go in Booker's head. And if you're going to live and die by that guy, just make sure that you're building this team around him. You want to make sure that you have options, that you can show him like we can do this, like a LeBron James effect where that guy every trade deadline wants to make the moves to make his team better. Booker might be heading in that direction where he wants to make sure that the front office has the options and can make him happy. I know he knows they're not going to be a championship contender in the next few years, but how long is he going to be here if we're still losing or below 500? Like, so he has to see that the front office has options, I feel like, in order for him to want to stay.
I agree. Again, and you hit the nail on the head, like I used to say in our first pods. I was thinking a lot about our first pods today because I'm rewatching The Last Dance. And
really? I was just thinking about that. I'm like, you know what? I kind of really want to watch that again. What's it on right now? Is it on ESPN?
It's been on Netflix forever. And last night I couldn't sleep and I finished watching Masters of the Air, which is the Air Force version of Band of Brothers in the Pacific. I finished watching the Pacific. I finished watching Band of Brothers, and it was like 11:30 at night. And I'm like, fuck. And I put on The Last Dance, and it reminded me of when we used to watch during COVID. They used to release 2 episodes a week. And then you and I, and like we had Flex on, and we would do recaps of The Last Dance as podcasts.
I forgot about that.
You remember? Like they're out there. It's like
now.
episode 55 of the Suns Jam Session podcast. I think we were the Suns Jam Session by then. Maybe we were still the Solar Report, but I think we were Suns Jam, and we were reviewing that. But one of the things, we all have our ticks when we talk, and one of the things I used to always say is, you hit the nail on the head, Matthew.
Yeah.
And you just did by saying options. And that's what this is all about, is the Suns haven't had options. And now with Bradley Beal gone and that cap flexibility open, you have options. And like the more I research it, and again, I've seen all sides of this. I was texting with Gambo today. He's on a flight coming back from like Italy. He's like, see, Voida, I told you, I've been saying it since April. I'm like, I know. And I'm the first person to write about it in March that this was a possibility. So him and I have kind of been on the same wavelength and talked about it for months now about this occurring. But the more I've researched it, looking at it from all angles, it becomes clear that this is probably the best path forward for the Phoenix Suns. You start with the obvious. Like Bradley Beal can't be on the team next season. His relationship was done. And once that reality set in and the options became painfully limited, and, that's what you're saying. We need options. We had limited options with Bradley Beal. He had a no trade clause. That alone made moving him nearly impossible. You pair that with a contract that's flat out obscene, and you're looking at an asset that nobody wants. So what do? Do you buy him out and eat the full amount over 2 years, which is one option? They could have not stretched it and just ate it for the next 2 years. Do you absorb it all up front, knowing that you have no draft capital to rebuild with? That's not a plan. That's a fast track to mediocrity. So instead, the Suns chose to stretch the deal. And while that's not ideal, it at least gives them a chance. It gives them some cap space. It gives them options. And now it's on them to make the most of it. We don't know yet what Brian Gregory and this new front office is capable of. Brian Gregory is making up for mistakes that he was left with. He was left with what James Jones and Josh Bartelstein, who I still do not think should be a part of this front office. There needs to be accountability there. I rolled a whole piece on Brightside about how Josh Bartelstein shouldn't be this. This is a $96 million mistake, and it's on his hands.
Yeah. Just because he wears tight pants.
Yeah, which is in a piece you were coming out, which I loved. I laughed my ass off when I read that.
Still in there?
Yeah, it's in there.
I feel like I thought I took that out. Okay.
Oh, if you didn't, it's unless you went in after I scheduled
him and his tight clothes. Okay.
But the question is, can Brian Gregory and this new staff, can they be strategic? Can they build a contender over the next few seasons? One competitive enough to attract free agents? Can they use the flexibility that they now have to flip those free agents that come in into more draft capital year after year? Just remember, A month ago, the Suns held 2 picks in the draft, 29 and 52. Now they had 3 rookies and 2 sophomores in the summer league. So, no, the Suns aren't in an ideal position, but the NBA is fluid, ever-changing. There's always a new path if you know how to walk it. No one's pretending that the Beal buyout is a good thing. It's not. But maybe it's just not as bad as it looks. I literally just read the last piece of an article that I have coming out tomorrow.
I don't know if you were
that I wrote 3 weeks ago.
Oh, really? I was going to say too, the relationship thing, that's big, but Beal kind of maybe got the brunt of all of this, maybe because when he had that interview before going to the playoffs 2 years ago, where he's saying I'm ready to play defense, shorten the mistakes and all that, it wasn't him all the time, right? There are other guys too. And I think Kevin Durant maybe was one of them, obviously, where he was maybe looking at Kevin Durant as a guy that was making the mistakes. He wasn't playing within the offense because it was too confusing for him or something, but he took the brunt of it because he had to go to the bench. He had to play a different role because of other guys fucking up. So maybe that was just his thing of I wasn't the one. I know I didn't play. Excuse me. I know I was injured, but the fact that when I was out there, I was efficient. I would play my role. I did the best that I could on my end. I wasn't the one fucking up all the time. So maybe getting the brunt of it, maybe just being I'm just done with this organization because so quickly they put me on the bench. It makes sense. But also it's looking from the outside in, I don't think a lot of players are still kind of, I don't think they feel like Phoenix is kind of a disgusting organization yet. They don't feel like this is a place that they don't want to play. I feel like a lot of guys still want to play here because they saw from the outside. It was just a situation that just did not work out. And the fact that everyone moved on from it is a blessing. The fact that we have to still pay $19 million a year out of Matt Ishbia's pocket, yeah, that sucks. But we can still make that one big trade or that one big, it's going to have to be the one big trade that makes Booker happy and makes us maybe a destination that is a championship contender again. And then maybe a few pieces here and there might be in the finals again within 3 or 4 years because we have that option of doing that. So I think that really Bradley Beal getting out of here and moving on is better for, I feel like, the Phoenix Suns, even if they pay him, than Bradley Beal himself, just because I feel like when he comes back here, are we going to be cheering him? We're going to be booing him? Is his reputation kind of ruined because of this whole thing? Or is it more?
I think with casual fans, it will be ruined. I don't think, again, that's why I start off by saying, great person, good player, horrendous contract. And it's not his fault, in my opinion. It's not his fault. It's the front office's fault for bringing in somebody who was redundant of Devin Booker with a no trade clause, making more money than Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. It was fucking stupid. And now they're paying for it. So whether the situation was ideal or not for Bradley Beal while he was here is a moot point, in my opinion. He wasn't put in a position to be successful, nor was Kevin Durant, nor was Devin Booker. And that's why continually I've said that the Suns front office and Matt Ishbia and Josh Bartlestein coming in here thinking that they could throw money in a situation, not being astute enough to recognize that the CBA is changing the game, has cocked up the Devin Booker prime era. And now they're trying to course correct. And to your point, to my own point, the fact that the NBA is as fluid as it is a reason for hope. And I see what Candid Cam says, maybe this is stupid, but if the front office knew we were going to buy out Beal, why not trade KD and Book? And the reason, in my opinion, I've been saying this all summer long, is you still keep Book because you don't want to go into a full rebuild mode, because a full rebuild mode is long. And the whole goal of it is to get somebody on your team who's an all-star. So you get rid of Kevin Durant, who's going to give you some return and is old. You get rid of Bradley Beal because he's redundant of the guy who's in his prime, your franchise player, and Devin Booker, the guy you build around. He's your all-star. He's the guy you build around. If you want to get rid of everybody, you can do that, but there's no guarantee. And everybody says, well, look at OKC. Look at OKC. And if I've said this once, I've said it 1,000 times on this podcast, and I ask for forgiveness of you and the listeners and the watchers of this program. But I'll say it again. OKC is the exception, not the rule, in how they've built their championship. They've been unbelievably strategic and unbelievably lucky along the way by making a trade that netted them a guy who eventually became an MVP. There's one MVP every year, just like there's one champion every year. And the odds of trading for an MVP or a guy who develops into MVP are very, very minuscule. And so OKC went with their time. Because if they don't have SGA, they're still a team that has a ton of picks, young talent who's good, but not competitive enough to win. But you put SGA in that situation, given the fact they built around him effectively, and now they're not just competitive, they're champions. Our goal right here isn't to become a champion, unfortunately. Our goal is to once again find a path towards competitiveness. And in order to do so, the Suns have had to make the transactions to get rid of Kevin Durant, to garner some draft capital and certain players back who you can again flip, and then get rid of Bradley Beal so you can free up the money and the flexibility to do so.
Yeah, and I think the whole thing with Book too, and Candid Cam says, no, I mean, like if it's an addition by subtraction by try next year with Book and Katie still, which you were talking about earlier.
Yes, that's how I wanted the Suns to operate. I had a whole piece on Brightside. That's exactly how I wanted the Suns to operate. Get rid of Beal, hold on to Booker and Katie, and give it one more shot. Give it one more year.
True, yeah, and like,
but Katie's a baby, and he couldn't. He's like, well, people in Phoenix don't want me. It's like, the people on Twitter didn't want you. A few of them, and you cried. Like, good luck in Houston.
It's gonna be the same thing there, man. It's ever greener on the other side
because he's only looking at Twitter. He's only looking at Twitter, and like,
still, man, yeah. When I see that, I'm like, I'm so glad he's gone.
Well, and
the beef he has with people.
There's a great quote, and I finally on my Twitter profile, there's a stand-up comic called Drew Michael, and he's got this HBO special. It's a really quality HBO comedy special. It's called like Red, Blue, Green or something. It came out in like 2020, 2021. I remember watching it when I was traveling a lot. Very introspective, talking about mental health and things of that nature. And one of his great quotes is, who's on Twitter? It's only people who think it's a good idea to be on Twitter. It's not everybody. Most people aren't on it. 80% of the public doesn't use it. Everyone on Twitter is somebody on Twitter. There's an inherent insanity in the medium. And like, that's who Kevin Durant's looking at, is the select few, misguided few who are on Twitter and thinking that speaks for an entire fan base. And that in itself is insanity.
Yeah, it's like the one kid in class in third grade that calls you fat. It's like, I'm not fat, but then I actually am fat. So
but it like hurts your feelings, right?
Yeah. You know, the whole thing, sticking with the Devin Booker thing though, staying here for one more year, right? Could you imagine though if he was traded though, if they're like Kevin Durant and Book are just up for sale? The fan base would go crazy. It would not be the most pleasant situation here. The best thing for both sides, especially Devin Booker. Yeah, exactly, man.
Dallas and Luka, man.
It would have been shit. But then now look at Dallas next year. They might be okay without him. Who knows? But Luka looks skinny though. They did show some videos.
Oh yeah, it's summer. He's always skinny.
Around. They always do this shit.
There's always a great camera angle in the summer.
Yeah, every time. Yeah, and then they'll show one of him being fat next week after he has 4 beers.
I know.
But if you stick with Booker though this year and things don't work out and he puts up stats, he looks great. And we're still losing. We're below 500. Like, I feel like that's a good time to move off from him. Just because, I mean, if you want to continue with 2 seasons, that's fine. We always say, I'll give it 2 seasons or 3 seasons or whatever.
Well, but I expect that to happen. I expect us to be under 500 and him to be good.
Yeah, but that's I don't know. I don't know if he does though. Do you think that he does? That he's like, we're going to.
I'm sure he's 500? Had conversations because he's been involved. You know, per Brian Greger, who is being interviewed during Summer League, that he's had Devin Booker in his ear the entire step of the way. And he's had to have a candid conversation. But guess what, Book? We have to right this ship. It's going to take a couple years to right this ship. You know, next year is a year where potentially they can come off the Jalen Green contract, which will be with $36 million, and get a couple players potentially back. I mean, it's they're playing the long game, not the short game. And my assumption is Devin Booker is going to play that long game right along with him, because as Brian Gregory continues to say, Booker's built different. He's built different, man. He loves Phoenix. Phoenix has loved him. He's part of the community. He's thankful for every step of the way. And if you think about it, if you're Devin Booker, you have the whole city of Phoenix behind you. It's a great place to live. It's a great fan base. That's I mean, you've been in the arena. You know what, like, it's like, from Texas, number 35, Kevin Durant. Yeah. Number 1 from Kentucky, Devin Booker. And the place fucking goes crazy because every little kid in there is screaming his name. And so there is value in that. And when you look at Devin Booker and his old school ways, driving his old school cars, his old school mentality and his Mamba mentality, and, you know, the reverence that he has for the game, I honestly feel like he's somebody who's like, you know what, if I got to go through 2 shitty seasons to come out on the other side with some, you know, maybe Malawach by then is developed into a quality big at 21 years old. Maybe Rasheer Fleming is now a rotational forward, and we've added some other pieces along the way. I believe in your vision. Thank you for the $75 million.
Yeah, but how long until it gets into his head, though? I know I'm just
probably
saying we all
4
say
seasons. I'm saying like 4 seasons down the line.
Okay, so I don't know. Could he be the good stats, bad team guy again?
He might have to be for the next couple of years.
I'm just saying, can he?
I think he can. What has he ever shown?
Mentally,
what has he ever shown
He's never shown anything, but do you think he would want to go? I know it sounds good, right? We got the coach he wants. Like, we've been excited for the
but
past
it's like the
2 seasons
LeBron situation. It's like the LeBron situation. LeBron opted into his contract, and now he's kind of upset. And what everyone's kind of saying is like, dude, there's no market for you. In Devin Booker's case, he might get upset, but if it's after 1 year, guess what? This isn't Kevin Durant after 1 year after signing an extension to wanting to go somewhere else. This isn't Bradley Beal 1 year after an extension wanting to go somewhere else. Both of those guys could do it because the CBA wasn't as restrictive as it is now. Teams aren't going to want to do that unless they think it's like LeBron. LeBron's like, well, I want to go somewhere and win. It's like, yeah, but if we trade you somewhere to win, we have to stack enough contracts appropriately to get shit back, which makes the team that we're sending to you not able to win. It's like, we're going to send you to Minnesota, and we're going to have to get back Jaden McDaniels and, a couple other ancillary players, but that's what makes that team good is the ancillary players. That's what makes OKC good, Houston good, New York good. And would be the same thing with Devin Booker. It's like, dude, I'm sick of losing, man. Send me to a winner. It's like, okay, we're going to send you to a winner, but now they're going to become a loser because they have to give up 3 pieces that made them a winner in order to get you.
Unless it's like mostly all draft picks, right?
No,
if we can get a big
you have to match the salaries for the most
not
part.
Right now, you don't.
For the most part, you do.
Well,
it depends on the team. It depends on the team. The Celtics were able to do it because they got a third team involved, and one of the teams absorbed the contract or absorbed the cap hit. The Hawks, I think, absorbed the cap hit. So it's like there are ways to do it, but I don't believe that Booker's. I don't think it's his DNA. And you know what? 2 years from now, you and I will be sitting here, and you'll be right because that's the way it goes.
But
you're happy till you're not.
Though. What if it's not up to Booker anymore? What if Gregory's like, this is not the guy? What if he's like, hey, we can continue to try to ride on Booker, but we know for sure that he's not the main guy on a winning team? What if he's like, this is our chance to really pull the trigger and get a big haul back from a team that thinks that they can actually win with Booker, trading multiple pieces with a 6 or 7 first-round draft picks or something crazy like that? Because I feel like that's what you can get from him if a team believes that they have a chance to win a championship. So I think he's a different type of dude. I think there's something with the smirk, there's something with the smile that I'm just like, I don't trust. And honestly, if he has to pull the trigger and be the bad guy, maybe that's why James Jones wanted to get out of here. Because they're like, you know what, if this doesn't work out where Booker's a guy, maybe we need to really rebuild because we can't go through below 500 seasons with him as our best player. We just can't. So, and I think maybe Booker knows that too.
Did.
Yeah, I know. Well, he wasn't supposedly our best player. It was Kevin Durant. To your point, though,
supposedly. It would be irresponsible of Brian Gregory not to take those phone calls. And you're right. We don't know yet what to expect from Gregory. We're learning about him. So far, every move he's made, for the most part, I've agreed. I've agreed with every move. Maybe not the Kevin Durant one. What's that?
The past 2 years, 2.5 years, we agreed with every move the Suns
made.
This
is true. Well, no, I didn't agree with Bradley Beal.
No, you didn't. Yeah, I was excited about that one.
I was excited that they took a chance. I thought that they took a chance on the wrong player
at the time. That I thought.
Now they do. now they do. And we'll see. And you might be right. And that's the game, right? That's what we'll continue to watch. Is there going to be a certain breaking point where Brian Gregory's like, you know what? We need to continue this rebuild. We've got some solid young players. They're not working out the way that we wanted. I'm big on development. It's not working out. We're going to have to trade Devin Booker. It might happen, but I don't think it's after 1 year. I don't think it's after 2. I honestly think it would be after or right when that extension's about to kick in, or the year after it kicks in when he only has 1 year left on it. But that's way down the road. Bringing it a little bit back to today and the fact that the Suns now have cap space, $10 million under the first apron. Now, again, that doesn't mean they can just go out and offer somebody $20 million. They have access to their mid-level exception, which means they can offer somebody up to $14 million. We have 2 open roster spots. There's been a lot of rumors about Chris Paul being interested in Phoenix and the Los Angeles Clippers. The Reaper, John Gambadoro, pretty much reaped him coming to Phoenix and said he's going to follow Bradley Beal. They're both going to end up as Clippers, which I guess at the end of the day is fine. But the Suns have 2 open roster spots. Any thoughts, any clue, any suggestions on what this team could do? Because they have to fill those roster spots. They have holes, especially at the point guard position. What do you think who should they be targeting with that open roster spot?
There are names like Michael Brogdon, right? Like some older veteran point guards that can come in and kind of just help out off the bench. I really don't know what you do with it. I don't think there's anybody out there that really is enticing. Like, who do you have in mind?
You hit the nail on the head there, Matthew. There's not a lot of enticing names out there. There really isn't. One name that I like, but but he's not really a starting level caliber point guard, is DeLon Wright. But I feel like DeLon Wright has kind of become my Montrezl Harrell or my what's Hassan Whiteside. The guys that every year, like I'm like, hey man, we should go get Hassan Whiteside. We should go get Montrezl Harrell. Like I feel like every year I talk about going and getting DeLon Wright. Maybe he's a guy who just put that in the chat. That was a good one. I kind of like it. Final Boss Emperor Roy Maivia says, how about Monte Morris? I would not be opposed in any form bringing back Monte Morris. Bring him back. Use part of your mid-level exception. Don't give him veteran minimum. Give him, like $6 million. Be like, here you go. King Nacho, who earlier, King Nacho, the guy who's been saying get rid of Beal for fucking 2 years to the point where it's defined his personality in a negative way, is now saying we need to get rid of Bartlestein. So please don't make that a thing, dude. But he says Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes is a restricted free agent. There are a couple interesting free agent names out there who have long-standing negotiations. And again, the mid-level with the way that the CBA and the second apron has progressed, the guys who are getting hurt the most are these restricted free agent guys. Jonathan Kuminga, Quentin Grimes, Josh Giddey. All these guys are at this point where it's like they want an extension. The team's not going to offer them an extension. The team, you think back to DeAndre Ayton. When DeAndre Ayton became a restricted free agent, the Indiana Pacers offered him a max deal, and then the Suns matched that. That's what all three of these guys are hoping, that somebody's going to offer them a lot of money and force the team to either match the money or let them go for the money. But no one has any money to offer them. And so the teams can sit there and be like, yeah, you can test the market all you want. We're going to bring you back on your qualifying offer, which is only a couple million more than what you're making right now. So it'll be really interesting to see who the Suns target. But the key here, and I think that you hit the nail on the head, as did I, there's no big splash on the other side of this. Unless the Suns have a trade up their sleeve, unless they're going, okay, Nick Richards plus Royce O'Neal, or better yet, Nick Richards plus Grayson Allen.
Yeah.
That's $21 million. Okay, they can now aggregate salaries again. So they can go and they can try to find somebody on the market who's worth $21 million. And or they can try to trade for draft picks, right? Because again, with all of the availability that they have now, they can actually make some moves. Now, if you ask yourself, okay, well, who on the open market is worth, let's just say 20, because they can take back over a certain amount of money, but let's just say $22 million. I'm going to look this up real quick. Guys who are making $22 million. Whoop, one too many zeros. Not looking for that. We're like Googling. You can hear us Googling, can't you, at home? Make sure you subscribe while you're hearing us Google. $22 million. So Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is 21.6. Marcus Smart is 21.5. Naz Reid is 21.5. Vucevic is 21.4. Dylan Brooks, 21. Cam Johnson with Denver's 20.5. Norman Powell just got traded. Jared Allen, $20 million. Yeah, Jakob Poeltl. I mean, that's the kind of players that you can potentially turn two of those guys in. So Richards and Grayson get you Hachimura. I do not want Hachimura on my team. Campaign, that's a name maybe. We're not a big fan of retreads. But in my opinion, the goal is to try to get a point guard in here. And somebody said start Colin Gillespie. And the answer to that, in my opinion, is no. If you're starting Colin Gillespie, all you're doing, in my opinion, is what you did last year. Is you go, hey, we brought in Tyus Jones, but he's going to start. So now Devin Booker has to play the 3. Jalen Green would play the 2. We're going to be small at the 4 because guess who's going to play there? Dylan Brooks. And then we got a bunch of big centers. What you need to do is bring in potentially a point guard and sit Jalen Green, or bring in a point guard, have a playmaker. So you're out there with Jalen Green, Devin Booker. Your 3 becomes Dylan Brooks. Your 4 becomes Ryan Dunn or Oso Agudelo or Rasheer Fleming eventually, in a couple of years. And then you got Williams at the 5. You need to go big, and you need to have flexibility. But again, there's just not a lot out there, man.
There really isn't. And I think if you were to bring in a point guard, it would be nice to come off the bench. Who put it in the chat? Sixers guard DeAnthony Melton?
Yeah, DeAnthony Melton, but the rumor is he's going to go to Golden State because he's a guy. I would love to have De'Anthony Melton. He's a guy you
he
would
was there
offer
last
some of
year,
that
though, for 5 games.
Was that what it was? Something like that.
Yeah. If it were to be like this year to me kind of seems like it's going to be like an injury year or something like that. So I feel like these guards you need, like the veterans, it would be nice to have, just kind of steer the ship a little bit to make it still an entertaining season. That's the only way they're going to start. Like Colin Gillespie, if he's a starter lineup, it's because Book's out with ACL or something like that. Like I just feel like this year's going to be kind of like a nightmare from hell. Like it's going to be something that's.
But they're going to try.
Players.
They're going to try,
but there's going to be like that one big injury we haven't really had, except for Bradley Beal. So it's going to be difficult to navigate this because I feel like the Phoenix Suns, they have a fun roster to look at on paper. It does, but when it comes on the court,
I do not like looking at that.
On paper, I like it. But then when it comes on the court, and be like, oh, this is it. Whoops.
It's still too redundant.
Oh,
I like that we got longer. I like that we got bigger, but we have no playmaking ability, and we're still point guard shy. That's why with one or both of these open roster spots. Yeah, but power forward.
Also, Orioles are power forward.
He could be.
He looks like our starting power forward right now.
He could be. Honestly, he could be.
Yeah.
Or Rasheer Fleming's not going. No, Patrick
No.
Williams. No, thank you.
Name.
But like Rasheer Fleming's not a starting power forward, but he has the size to be one when
big dude.
He's bigger than Oso.
He looked big out there. I didn't realize how big he was.
Yeah, me too. That's why I wanted to see him out there. I'm like, let's see him run around, see what he does. I'm like, oh my God, he's bigger than Oso, and he's longer too. So again, developmental. But again, the lesson from all of this, in my opinion, is the Suns are they still have some moves to make. They've opened up flexibility. They will sign 2 players because they need to. You have to have 15 guys on your team. They already have the three two-ways are done. So they're going to add players. Anybody they get, unless there's a trade involved that we're not seeing, which could be possible, it's not going to be that much of a needle mover. But what the Suns have done is they've set themselves up for flexibility. If they stay under the second apron for the next couple seasons, their 32 or their 2032 pick isn't frozen anymore because right now it's frozen. So if you look at long-term flexibility, that's why you do this. In the short term, it gives you flexibility to make moves or at least if an option opens up, because there's options that are going to open up that we're not even aware of right now, that they're not even aware of right now.
Yeah.
And you want to put yourself in a position when those options come up, you can make a decision, not be like, man, that would be awesome. But fuck, we don't have anything. We're in the second apron. That's why this is all done. It's like I said earlier, it's one of those situations where it's bad. It's not ideal, but it might not be as bad as we all think. It all comes down to expectations. And as we go into next season, as we talk about this team kind of throughout the summer, it's a reminder that our expectations are what ultimately hurt us these last 2 seasons and made covering this team absolutely fucking miserable.
Man, Chris Paul would just be great on this team right now, though.
I would love that.
I feel like just because, the whole Jalen Green thing kind of scares me both ways. He can have that redemption kind of year, but also he can still be the guy that they were trying to trade for here in Houston for certain reasons, whether it's attitude or whatever it is that we don't know about.
Or just skill.
Maybe there's something there where he can't comprehend.
Skill.
It's skill, but also maybe it's just the knowledge of the game. Maybe he's relying too much on just his athleticism or just
bingo. It's basketball IQ. I mean?
If it's the IQ, then you need guys like a Dylan Brooks to stay with him and a guy like Chris Paul to kind of guide him. I don't know if Devin Booker is going to be the right guy next to him. That's why if you want to work with Jalen Green and try to make him better, you need a veteran point guard or a guard in there, I feel like, with these guys.
I don't disagree. But again,
it's going to be
options.
Nasty.
It is.
It's just the more and more I think about it, I'm excited.
Interesting.
I'm excited, but it's not going to be good.
Well, exactly.
It's not
but that's okay.
Good.
As long as my expectations are there, it's so funny to see these people who are just like, well, we're not winning a championship. So, who cares?
Well, neither are the Rockets or the Clippers. So don't worry about
exactly.
it.
Like only one team does. And if your soul, if every decision you think a team should make relies on the end goal of them being a championship, you're going to be disappointed because only one team does. And that's part of the Booker conversation. He's not a winning player and therefore you don't do it because he's not going to win you a championship. It's like, yeah, but what about the human elements? What about the loyalty? What about what he's done for your organization? What about what he's done for the community? It's like none of that matters. A championship's all that matters. It's like, man, you must be you're fucking miserable at parties because it's the journey that makes the championship all worthwhile, how you get there. And again, only one team does it. And the one thing I do like about the NBA, I mentioned this earlier, is how fluid it is. We haven't had a repeat champion in almost a decade. That's what the CBA has done. That's what the NBA has done, is they've created parity. So in a couple years, if you play your cards right, and if you're strategic, which the Suns haven't been, but we're hoping that these are moves that are putting them in a situation to be strategic moving forward, it can put you in a situation where you can win a championship. And that's the end goal. And that's why we do this, because it's fun to fantasize about how we can get there, knowing that we never will, because we're the Phoenix Suns.
On the other hand, I don't care about the loyalty. I don't think it really exists within the NBA. I know. And the article coming out just kind of explains that. But because the Thunder, they won the championship.
I'm publishing it in 3 years.
Yeah.
Scheduled for 2028.
Yeah, would it make sense? Yeah. But loyalty doesn't matter. Like I said in the article coming out, it can change within months, just depending on how the players react to our new head coach, the front office reacting to the way the players are playing on the court. I just think that the way going into the season, like, you can have the loyalty all you want with Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns, but just like the Thunder, they barely won the championship. They should not have won that championship. That should have been a Pacers championship. If that were to happen, there's no loyalty at all. Who knows if Chet gets re-signed? Who knows if he doesn't get traded or something?
But on the other side, there was no loyalty either, right? They didn't win the championship. Halliburton gets hurt, and then they trade Miles Turner, who they've had for 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So that proves your point.
But also, Miles Turner was a guy that was always on the trading block for how long? Now he's like, fuck you guys. You're not going to pay me. I'm getting out of here. There's no loyalty on both sides. There's not.
No, well.
Even as much as we love Devin Booker, there's not going to be loyalty in the end. There's not. It's going to be a relationship that ends badly, just like all of them. Unless you win a championship, it can ride out into the sunset like Dirk Nowitzki or Tim Duncan.
This relationship soured in Phoenix, and that's why the Bradley Beal buyout is official. So whoever joins the team next, the number 3 is open again. So the last guys to wear it, Bradley Beal, CP3. Who wore it before CP3?
It was Brandon Knight. Just kidding. Was I don't know. I don't remember anybody, dude. Pasta? Oh, Kelly Oubre. Yeah, he was sitting courtside at God, I forgot how good looking that dude is. Sorry, dude. And his girlfriend, of course. But man, that dude. My girlfriend was in the kitchen, so thank God. Don't look at Kelly Oubre.
Final
Stay
boss,
in the kitchen,
Emperor Roy Maivia. We'll close out the podcast with this $1.99 super chat. Again, thank you for supporting the show. Everybody who's watching along live on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, thank you for hanging out with us. Make sure that you subscribe, rate, review, hit that thumbs up. And he goes, nah, 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 nah. Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye. So Beal gone. Now what? Tune into the Suns Jam Session podcast for the next 20 years as we try to figure that out. Go home and love your family.
and then you can read my article.
That's when it'll publish 20 years from now. Tell them what to do, Matthew.
Go and love your family.
Hey, you're listening to the Suns Jam Session podcast, shooting the shit about the Suns since 2019.